All right, Kurt. First of all, your thoughts hearing the news that Tommy Lasorda passed away.
Well, I think I feel the same as a lot of people in baseball feel. We lost a real ambassador to the game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see too many guys like Tommy Lasorda come along in a lifetime, and he was, he was really the face of the Dodgers for many, 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 many years. How can somebody stay with an organization for as long as he did?
Yeah.
I mean, really, when you think about it, it's pretty amazing that he was with that organization from, I think he might have signed his first minor league contract around 1950.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. It really is to be, and with the same organization. And, I tell you, I'm wearing Dodger colors today to honor Tommy Lasorda. This happens to be my favorite baseball hat of all time.
It is a great hat.
Brooklyn Dodger hat.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it since the time I was knee-high to a grasshopper, as my mom used to say. And but I hated the Dodgers when I was 5 years old. So that hasn't changed. I want to beat them. They're just one of those rivals that you look up to. They win. They've got a great organization. Mm-hmm. And those are the kind of people you want to beat.
Where did you grow up that you were a Dodger hater?
Miami.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people down in Miami. But I grew up in a time, John, where we only saw the World Series.
Okay.
And maybe one broadcast a week. Mm-hmm. So I was constantly seeing the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Yankees early on. And then when they moved to the West Coast, naturally, they weren't quite as successful as they were in Brooklyn for a couple of years. And then they started to be again. So you start seeing the West Coast Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yep.
But they basically dominated baseball, those two teams, for a long time.
Yeah.
As far as playing in World Series games. And that's where I learned to love the hat, because of Pee Wee Reese and Duke Snider and people like that were on that team. And then, but my team was the Yankees. I loved Mickey Mantle. He was my favorite player. And even though I liked the Dodger hat, the Yankees were my team.
That's funny. I was going to ask you who you were a fan of growing up in Miami. I didn't know if maybe you were with the Atlanta Braves, but you were a Yankees fan. So that's interesting.
There was no CNN, John, when I was growing up.
Exactly. Now, let me ask you, when you became a player and you were playing, did some of that hatred for the Dodgers still exist or not?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, they were always the team to beat. Anybody, the Reds, anytime, my juices got flowing when I went in to towns to play teams that were winners.
Okay.
I broke into the National League by being a part of the Pittsburgh Pirate Baseball Club. I got traded to the National League. I came up through the Red system.
Okay.
But I got traded to the National League after I went to the big leagues in the American League. So the team to beat was the Yankees, mostly in the American League. And when you came to the National League, there were a couple of teams that were pretty darn good teams out there. It was a thrill to play, the San Francisco Giants, the Reds, the Pittsburgh Pirates, going back there and playing them when I was here in San Diego. So, when we started going to Dodger Stadium and playing, Tommy Lasorda was the third base coach.
Mm-hmm.
And Walter Alston was the manager. And then that change was made. You know how many years Walter Alston was the 1-year manager of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then Tommy took over, 77, 78, right around that time.
Sounds about right.
And, not as flamboyant or outspoken as he became.
Mm-hmm.
But, I describe him as the same way I describe a player on an opposing team. They're so good and they're so talented that when you play against them, you hate them.
Mm-hmm.
but when they're on your team, you love them. And I think that's the way it is. And I think if you talk to guys that played for Tommy Lasorda, I think you're going to get the same, type of response from them. That he treated players well. He treated them with respect. From what I understand, and I never played for him, but I will say that in the collusion years, because that's when I left baseball, there were two teams that were interested in signing me: San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Wow. So I find that refreshing, seeing that in the collusion papers, because I was part of that collusion thing. So Tommy Lasorda must have been interested in acquiring me, or the Dodgers wouldn't have been interested. They would have he would have just nixed the deal and said, I don't want that guy.
Yeah.
But I don't think I don't think that's the way it was. All of this stuff that went down between me, I say went down, all the stuff that was reported between him and I I sat back and enjoyed every second of it. I mean, hearing that audio tape and seeing different people's rendition of it and being asked all the time about it. I mean, it was a kick. Couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. I mean, that's a great quote. I loved it.
Well, there were he dropped a couple of F-bombs in there too, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, Tommy could do that. I wish that managers back in the day, the Weavers and the Dick Williams and Billy Martins and Tommy Lasordas of the world, boy, I wish they were mic'd. Because not for the cursing part of it, just to hear some of the things that they would say. One of the greatest tapes of all time with manager umpire, in my mind, is the Earl Weaver, Tom Haller, who was an American League umpire. That tape, to me, is all time one of the better ones that I'll ever hear, or that anybody will ever hear. And if you haven't heard it, you got to look it up on YouTube because it's fabulous.
Did you ever? How should I ask this? It's such a well-known rant for those of us sports fans. Tommy talking about you and the whole couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat. What was the next conversation like between the two of you when you met later, whether it was a month or a year, 5 years later? What was that like?
It was probably 10 or 12 years later.
Okay.
And we were at a convention where we were both making an appearance for different entities. And I was walking through the hall one day and I was in the back, going in back of the eating concession area to make my way around to where I was going. And there was Tommy holding court, sitting at a table with an audience. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go over and say hi. So I did. And he kind of had a surprised look on his face, but he acknowledged me, introduced me to the people at the table. And it wasn't, I wouldn't say that he jumped up and threw his arms around me and acted like he was thrilled to see me, but he was respectful. The best story that I have is the day that I called his home and to congratulate him on making the Hall of Fame. And Joe answered the phone, who I want to send out my regards to her right now and condolences. I mean, losing a companion after being with them for 70 years has to be quite something. But Joe doesn't even know this. But one of my bigger kicks in life was her answering the phone and me saying, Mrs. Lasorda, this is Kurt Bevacqua. Is Tommy available? And it was your classic throw the hand over the phone to muffle. What's he doing calling here? I got the biggest kick out of that. Tommy came to the phone. We talked for a couple of minutes, and that was it for that conversation. And I saw him at the NADA convention, and I saw him at Petco Park one night, and that basically was it. I mean, I saw him at Dodger Stadium one night from a distance
Mm-hmm.
when I was doing some pre and post game shows for the ball club, but we never talked. But I saw him a lot, just like everybody sees him a lot. I mean, when you're an ambassador like he was, the baseball world lost a great person today. They really did. And Tommy Lasorda went to his grave, or is going to go to his grave, and meet the Dodger in the sky, as he would say, because he bleeds Dodger blue. He did from the beginning. And he will, well, kind of the beginning. He was actually a Philadelphia Phillies fan growing up because he's from Norristown. So, you know what? Any manager, or player for that matter, that gets into a fight with an opposing manager or player before the game behind the batting cage, they're okay in my book. And that's what happened with Lasorda and Charlie Fox up in San Francisco. They literally got into a fight during batting practice before the ball game one night.
Wow.
I mean, that's perfection right there. It's
that's a man with passion, is what that is.
That's right.
You've mentioned the word ambassador more than once, and I've used that same word. I used that word on Facebook this morning, that the sport lost an ambassador with a personality as big as the game. What made him such a great ambassador, do you think?
I think anytime that you heard Tommy talk, he was talking about what a great game baseball was. And that if you love your work, if you love your job, you don't ever go somewhere every day where you have to work.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he had all little sayings like that. That a lot of people might not give him credit for. But every time he made a speech, Tommy was a really good speaker, by the way. Andy Strasburg, who used to be the public relation director of the Padres, pulled off a little, you asked me the first time I saw him after that, and I forgot about this, because you know who the Madres are.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, they're a group of gals that are great Padre fans.
Yep.
They used to have luncheons all the time. And they would set players up to go up and talk to them. So Andy asked me if I would go up and speak to the Madres on this particular day, whenever it was. What he didn't tell me was he had also asked Lasorda.
Yeah.
Now, this was after the rant, after the supposed altercation or verbal dispute that we had. And Andy Strasburg wore an umpire's uniform. I mean, it was classic.
Oh, that's great.
It was classic. We sat on different sides of the podium.
Oh, my gosh.
And when Tommy got up and talked, he wooed the audience, was all women like he was great at. And about half of it was lies, but it's still classic Tommy Lasorda, and it was good stuff.
Oh, that is wonderful. I don't know if I have a whole lot else, unless you've done a great job sharing about what he meant to the game and sharing your personal interactions with him. Anything else that I haven't asked you about, or anything else that might be worth sharing with the viewers?
You know, Tommy, he was the last of a breed, I think, of managers in the game. Well, Boch came after Tommy, and he was still part of that deal. But where pitchers knew that they had to protect hitters, and a manager didn't have to talk to his pitching staff and tell them that, hey, you need to protect our hitters.
Right.
Now, there might have been some meetings that took place that I wasn't privy to. I'm sure there were, both on teams that I was on and opposition. But if guys got knocked back off the plate in my day, when I played, you can expect it to happen.
Yep.
To your team or the opposition when they came to the plate. It was just the way it is. There are a lot of things that are missing in the game today. I'm not talking about drilling guys in the head or hitting them in the ribs. I'm talking about moving them off the plate and knowing that you look out at the pitcher and you go, yeah, I knew that was coming. You expected it.
Yep. It was part of
the game.
Really
did. And it was part of the game. And Tommy, he might have had meetings with his pitching staff and went a roundabout way to say, you need to protect the Guerreros of our team and the Garveys and the Rick Mundys and Dusty Bakers and Ron Say and Bill Rod. I mean, that was the Dodger team that I played against early in my career. And then Garb became a part of our team here in San Diego. And it was fun stuff. And Tom, Steve Garvey, he's not going to say anything bad about anybody. But
Mr. Clean.
You would never hear Steve Garvey talk bad about Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah.
He was just too special to a lot of the players that played for him.
Yeah.
So, my sympathies go out to Dodger Nation, all the people that knew and loved him. It's a tough day. He did live to be 93. I'll take 93 right now and be pretty happy.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good life he led. He did things that he loved, and he loved to do. And it was a hell of a career.
Yeah. All right, Kurt, I really appreciate you doing this and got some great stuff from you there. And it's a loss for baseball. And he was just larger than life, so he's going to be missed. So, and is your son's name Brody? I heard you call him Broads.
Yeah, Brody is the younger one, and Garrett is the older one.
All right, tell Brody thank you for helping you get lined up on the camera work there. And
you're welcome.
And I appreciate you taking the time. And maybe next spring or when the baseball starts up again, I'll lob you another call. We'll talk some more baseball.
Sounds good. Talk to you, John. Take care.
Take care, Kurt. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.